Up to this point in the series, we've focused heavily on tree biology, soils, plant health care, and risk assessment. But if you're preparing for the BCMA exam, there's another dimension you must understand just as deeply. Arboriculture is also a profession governed by business relationships, legal responsibilities, and ethical decision-making. Every recommendation you write, every contract you sign, and every management plan you create carries professional responsibility. In this podcast, we'll explore the business and legal framework that surrounds professional arboriculture. Understanding these concepts helps protect you, your clients, your employees, and the trees you manage. And yes, many of these ideas regularly appear on the BCMA exam. In this lesson, we'll examine how arborists interact with clients, municipalities, employees, and other stakeholders within the framework of business operations and professional responsibility. We'll discuss concepts like contracts, bidding, and scope of work. We'll look at legal responsibilities such as duty of care, negligence, and liability. We'll also explore professional qualifications, including certification, licensure, and continuing education. Finally, we'll talk about the internal structure of arboricultural businesses, including human resources, personnel management, training, and leadership. These topics are critical because arborists are often trusted as experts. That trust comes with obligations. Let's begin with professional responsibility. When an arborist provides services, they are expected to follow a professional standard. In arboriculture, this often means following industry standards and best management practices, commonly called BMPs. A standard represents an accepted level of professional performance. The standard of care refers to the level of competence and diligence that a reasonably qualified arborist would provide under similar circumstances. For example, if an arborist conducts a tree risk assessment, they are expected to follow recognized methods consistent with current standards. This expectation creates what's called a duty of care. In other words, the arborist has a responsibility to perform their work carefully and competently. When that duty of care is breached and harm occurs, the situation may involve negligence. Negligence means failing to act with the level of care expected of a qualified professional. Now, here's an exam concept worth remembering. To prove negligence legally, several elements must exist. One of those is causation in fact. That means the arborist's action or failure to act must be directly linked to the damage that occurred. For instance, imagine an arborist incorrectly recommends leaving a structurally compromised tree in place. If the tree later fails and causes property damage, investigators may evaluate whether the arborist met the professional standard of care. This leads us to liability. Liability refers to legal responsibility for damages or losses. Arborists can carry liability insurance to protect themselves if a claim arises. Another common policy is errors and omissions insurance. This specifically protects consultants and professionals when mistakes in recommendations, reports, or professional judgment lead to financial harm. Field arborists often carry workers' compensation insurance as well. This protects employees who are injured on the job. In some cases, contracts may also require a bond. A bond is a financial guarantee that the contracted work will be completed according to the agreement. Now let's talk about professional qualifications. In arboriculture, certification demonstrates that an individual has met certain knowledge requirements and passed a professional exam. ISA Certified Arborist is one example. But certification is different from licensure. Licensure is a legal requirement issued by a government agency that allows someone to practice a regulated profession. Some states require arborist licensure, pesticide applicator licenses, or other regulated credentials. Maintaining professional competence requires continuing education. Certified arborists must complete continuing education units to maintain their certification. This process helps ensure that professionals stay current with research, regulations, and evolving best management practices. Another important concept is qualification. A qualified arborist is someone who possesses the knowledge, training, and experience necessary to perform a task competently. The BCMA exam often uses the term core competencies. These are the fundamental knowledge areas that professionals must understand to perform effectively. For arborists, core competencies include tree biology, risk assessment, pruning practices, soil science, and regulatory knowledge. Training plays a huge role here as well. Ongoing training ensures that personnel stay safe and competent while performing technical tree work. Now let's move into the business side of arboriculture. Most arboricultural services begin with a contract. A contract is a legally binding agreement between parties outlining services, expectations, and compensation. Within a contract, the scope of work describes exactly what services will be performed. For example, the scope of work may specify crown cleaning, structural pruning, or tree risk inspections. Clarity here is essential. Vague language can create disputes later. In municipal or large commercial projects, companies often respond to a request for proposals, commonly called an RFP. An RFP outlines the services a client wants and invites companies to submit proposals describing how they would perform the work. Companies then participate in bidding, where they submit pricing and project plans. Now imagine you're inspecting trees for a city park system. The municipality issues an RFP for tree inventory and risk assessments. Your company submits a proposal that outlines methodology, schedule, and cost. If selected, the contract becomes the legal framework for the project. Exam insight moment. Certification exams sometimes ask candidates to distinguish between scope of work and contract terms. Remember that the scope of work describes the specific services being provided within the contract. Field-based arborist examples. Let's shift into the regulatory side of arboriculture. Trees are often governed by local regulation. Many municipalities have a tree ordinance. A tree ordinance establishes rules for tree removal, planting, protection, and maintenance within a jurisdiction. Some cities also issue a tree preservation order, or TPO. A TPO legally protects specific trees or groups of trees from removal or damage. Another municipal role you may encounter is the tree warden. In some communities, the tree warden is responsible for overseeing public trees and enforcing tree-related regulations. Arborists working in urban environments frequently encounter right-of-way areas, often called ROWs. The right-of-way is land reserved for public infrastructure such as roads, sidewalks, and utilities. Utility arborists work extensively within row corridors while managing vegetation around power lines. Another legal concept related to land use is an easement. An easement allows one party to use another party's land for a specific purpose, such as utility access. Understanding these property rights is essential when recommending tree work near infrastructure. Arborists may also encounter environmentally sensitive areas such as wetlands. These areas are protected under environmental regulations, and tree work may require special permits. Now let's talk about property boundaries and legal conflicts. If someone enters another person's property and performs work without permission, that can constitute trespass. Similarly, removing or damaging a neighbor's tree without legal authority can create significant liability. These situations sometimes arise when property lines are unclear or when construction crews misunderstand site plans. Diagnostic thinking for arborists. When arborists evaluate projects, they must think beyond tree biology. They must also consider stakeholders. A stakeholder is any individual or group affected by a project. For example, a municipal tree removal project might involve residents, city officials, environmental groups, and utility companies. Each stakeholder may have different priorities. Professional arborists must balance these perspectives while adhering to regulations and professional ethics. Ethics refers to the moral principles guiding professional conduct. A classic ethical issue in arboriculture is conflict of interest. Imagine an arborist hired to assess whether a tree should be removed. If that arborist also owns the removal company that would profit from the job, a conflict of interest may exist. Professional ethics require transparency and objectivity. Due care is another concept that applies here. Due care means taking reasonable precautions to prevent harm. For arborists, this may include proper inspections, documentation, and risk communication. Leadership also plays an important role in arboricultural organizations. Strong leadership ensures that safety protocols, ethical practices, and professional standards are upheld. Within a company, human resources manages hiring, employment law compliance, and employee policies. Employment law governs issues such as workplace safety, discrimination, wage regulations, and employee rights. Companies must also implement effective performance management systems to evaluate employee productivity and development. Personnel development involves providing training, safety instruction, and skill advancement for employees. These systems ensure that staff members maintain the knowledge and competence required for professional tree care. Business financial foundations. Every arboricultural company must also track financial performance. Two fundamental documents are the income statement and the balance sheet. An income statement summarizes revenue, expenses, and profit over a specific period. A balance sheet provides a snapshot of the company's financial position by listing assets, liabilities, and equity. Understanding these financial tools helps arborists manage business sustainability and growth. Exam insight moment. Certification exams occasionally test whether candidates understand the difference between income statements and balance sheets. Concept reinforcement. Let's quickly connect the key ideas from this chapter. Professional arborists operate within established standards and best management practices. They are expected to meet a professional standard of care and fulfill their duty of care when advising clients or managing trees. Failing to meet those responsibilities may result in negligence and legal liability. Arborists protect themselves and their businesses through liability insurance, errors and omissions insurance, and workers' compensation policies. Professional credibility comes from certification, continuing education, training, and demonstrated core competencies. Business operations involve contracts, scope of work definitions, bidding processes, and responding to requests for proposals. Arborists must also navigate regulations, including tree ordinances, tree preservation orders, and land use issues such as right-of-way access and easements. Throughout all of this, ethical decision-making, leadership, and responsible personnel management remain essential. Summary. Business relations in arboriculture extend far beyond invoices and work orders. They involve legal responsibilities, professional ethics, financial management, regulatory awareness, and leadership. Master arborists are not only experts in tree biology, they are also trusted professionals operating within complex social, legal, and business environments. In the next chapters, we'll continue building on this professional framework as we explore advanced topics in urban forestry, risk management, and large-scale tree management planning. Because at the BCMA level, arboriculture isn't just about understanding trees, it's about understanding the entire system that surrounds them.
Thanks for listening to the Arborist-podcast. Let's keep building your arborist knowledge one domain at a time. If you found this useful, please like and subscribe.